Hi, and welcome to Inside Indies. I'm John Cook. Today we're here to discuss financing production incentives. And we're here today with my colleague, Mr. Adrian Ward, our new president of Cast and Crew Financial Services. Welcome, Adrian.
Thanks, John.
So, Adrian, what are the key elements a producer should focus on to make their project more attractive to potential investors?
Well, investors are looking for a return on that investment. One of those key strategies for that is to mitigate risk. I think they start with looking for the producer to get bang for their buck when it comes to paying for talent and all the other elements. But a lot of that strategy is also through the financing model that they're going to use. They'll utilize pre-sales of distribution rights to validate the film in the marketplace. And they'll also use tax incentives, which is basically, money to the bottom line of the movie that's non-recoupable. So it's a great way to have 20, 30% of your budget already taken care of before you've even gone into production.
So what are the factors a producer should consider when trying to decide on a tax incentive jurisdiction? What state to film in?
I think the first and foremost one is having the right jurisdiction, the right location for the film creatively. Assuming that's taken care of, then really it's what are the demands of the financing and what the tax credit location can provide. So if you have a larger above the line expenditure, then there's tax credits that can accommodate some of that. Otherwise, it could be a film that needs more in post-production special effects, and there are definitely programs that lean into that a little bit more as well.
Yeah, you don't want to film a film about New York City and New Mexico.
Exactly.
So how can producers leverage these tax incentives to secure their financing, given that the tax incentives are usually paid out far after production wraps?
Well, these days, most producers will have a relationship with a lender that will monetize that tax incentive up front in a project. So it's part of the initial financing. The factors that go into that really are based on the type of credit that it is, whether it's a rebate or maybe a transferable credit, and then what the requirements are of the lender to make that happen. But it's really something that, should be a conversation early on in the process to make sure that the lender is okay with that jurisdiction. There's been some changing, sort of legislation over the years, and maybe they know better jurisdictions. There's always new countries and states coming up with these things.
That's sort of the whole point of the loan in the first place, is to get the money up front into the producer's hands to get the film made, knowing that it's going to be forever before they see that money come in from the state.
So the other consideration that producers need to take into account, that lenders are looking at it from not only the size of the tax credit, but the term of time it takes for it to be repaid. Some tax credits take longer than others, and therefore you have to allow for that in terms of the financing costs.
And I'm assuming also on some of these films, on a lot of these films, they probably have more than one tax incentive depending on where they're filming. They may have a regional tax credit as well as a state credit, which are also, I'm sure, going to be on different timelines. So it's a lot to calendar all that out. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of producers will, mix and match different credits. And then you get into the world of potentially co-productions where you have different, several different countries involved. So, it can get quite complicated.
Yeah. So how do lenders determine the amount of the loan they're willing to provide, especially when they might not offer the full value of the tax credit?
Yeah, rarely will they do that, but they will discount based on a few factors, starting with the track record of that jurisdiction in terms of what it's done historically. Has it paid mostly according to the estimate? Has it paid mostly according to the timeline? But most lenders will discount to 90, 95% of the gross tax credit amount, and there'll be an opinion letter that validates that amount from a neutral third party typically. And then the lender will also look at other factors, including the timeline for repayment, or if there's a strong form of that, then they may lend more against the tax credit amount as well.
So what's the typical timeline on getting the tax credit back from the state? Is it a year, 2 years, vary state by state?
It does vary a lot depending on the jurisdiction, especially between different countries. But I would say from the point that you submit your audit work or the files to the jurisdiction, it's somewhere between 6 and 18 months.
How here at Cast and Crew can we help simplify all of this for the independent filmmakers of the world to help them maximize their dollars on screen?
Well, we've been doing this a long time as a company. I've been doing it a long time as a lender. It really starts with getting to know the producer and then the production that they're looking to have financed, understanding the jurisdiction that they're going to choose to shoot the film in, and then really get into we are sort of in at the start all the way through the end of the process in terms of assessing what the number is going to look like, monitoring it over the course of the production, and then assisting where needed with filing of the returns or other documentation to claim on the credit. And then we also get involved with the final payment process where the state is issuing a check or sending a wire, and we try and we facilitate that as much as we can.
Seems like you're really a real partner in the process.
That's exactly
definitely financially a partner, and we all want success for independent film. So,
yeah, that's exactly what it is. And along with the fact that we're hopefully doing the payroll as well, we try to be as much as we can to each production.
Absolutely, I'm glad you threw that in there. We also do payroll. Well, Adrian, thank you for coming here today and doing this interview. It was fantastic and a lot of good information there. And thank you.
Thank you too, John.